Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. If you're new to my channel and you've never seen my face before, then hi, I'm Moishiki. It's nice to have you here. But if you've seen few of my videos and you're a recurring member of this channel and you've subscribed to my channel, then I appreciate you. Hi, it's nice to have you here as well. As you guys already know by today's title, we're going to be reading this book in this reading vlog. Yes, it is Norwegian Wood, the infamous Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. And this book was gifted by one of my friends on my birthday, so I'm really thankful that she chose this book. Because it was on my TBR pile for so long, but I somehow never got my hands on it. So it's a nice opportunity to read this book in this reading vlog. So without further ado, let's get started. Before I even start this book, I just really want to go through the synopsis once. Toru, a quiet and preternaturally serious young college student in Tokyo, is devoted to Naoko, a beautiful and introspective young woman. But their mutual passion is marked by the tragic death of their best friend years before. Toru begins to adapt to campus life and the loneliness and isolation he faces there. But Naoko finds the pressures and responsibilities of life unbearable. As she retreats further into her own world, Toru finds himself reaching out to others and drawn to a fiercely independent and sexually liberated young woman. A magnificent blending of the music, the mood, and the ethos that was the 60s with the story of one college student's romantic coming of age. Norwegian Wood brilliantly recaptures a young man's first hopeless and heroic love. So we're going to be reading this book and I'll update you guys once further into this book. Guys, it's been a while since I've been reading this book and I think it's time to update. I'm almost like past the halfway mark, as you can see. By the way, just in case you're wondering why do I have two bookmarks, it's because I use one for marking the exact place that I'm reading and I use the other one to mark the place that I want to achieve, like maybe a chapter ahead or two. So that is the reason why I use two bookmarks. But yeah, keeping that aside, in chapter number 1, we see that the story prevails from the year 1987 with a 37-year-old Toru Watanabe. I think that's how the name is pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment box. Basically, he is the protagonist of the story and he lands in Hamburg. We see introduction of the Beatles song playing in the background, the Norwegian Wood, literally the title of this book. I still don't know what that means because I've never heard of that song, so I'll probably will have to listen to it at some point while or after reading this book. So yeah, so somehow while hearing that song, memories of his collegehood and childhood during the late 1960s keep resurfacing. So then he goes back to the timeline where he introduces his best friend Kisuki and his girlfriend Naoko, and he also kind of expresses that there was this triangle of friendship and bond and like closeness between the three of them. And then Kisuki, at the age of I think 17 or 18, attempts suicide. That's when everything starts falling apart. So Toru goes to Tokyo for his college life and like he lives in a dorm and he has this weirdly obsessive roommate nicknamed I think Stormtrooper. I forgot his actual name, but yeah, he starts reading and like living a quiet but at the same time detached life. Eventually he reconnects with Naoko in Tokyo and they begin to walk together and share this somewhat of a quiet bond and like I cannot explain it in words, but basically they just walk and just say nothing and share this emotional and heavy bond. But both of them, you can see by the writing that they are quite literally haunted by Kisuke's absence. Now let's move on to Nayoko. Nayoko is a girl who is really quiet and shy and a beautiful looking girl, but kind of troubled and is quite emotional as well. So one day on Nayoko's birthday, Toru takes her out and wishes her good. They spend quite a quality time together, and then somehow Toru asks a certain question about Kisuke, and Nayoko gets too overwhelmed, too emotional, and she cries the whole night basically. And then the day after, Nayoko disappears from Toru's life, and that too without an explanation. Now, after that incident, Toru is deeply troubled by the sense of guilt that what he asked or what he did is probably not what he should have. So he writes a letter and he kind of wants to know that where Nayoko went. Is she safe or not? What is she being up to? And he really wants to talk to her at least once and settle this thing. Now Toru is really confused about the situation, so he tries to write letters to Nayoko and tries to send her those letters, but none of those letters either reach her or he doesn't get a reply basically. But Nayoko somehow doesn't give any reply. But Nayoko somehow ignores all the letters and just doesn't reply back. So an upset and dejected Toru visits all these girls from different bars with his friend and just sleeps with them. Every night a different girl, which is not healthy, but he does nevertheless. But one fine day, he meets a new classmate from his history class, I believe, named Midori Kobayashi, who has a loud, lively, and a blunt personality. So Midori and Toru kind of start developing a friendship, and she also invites him to her home, and they spend quite a few time, and I should say quality time together. And when he reaches home, he gets a letter from Nayoko asking him to visit her. Midori also explains her life struggles and everything and her approach to life. She also shares that her mother is dead, suffering from cancer, and she's not that close with her father, but she can see why he acts the way he does, which only explains how bold of a personality she has. Now, by the time Toru reaches his dorm, he notices a letter from Nayoko. And through this letter, she basically invites him to come to her sanatorium and visit the place where she is basically recovering mentally. Now, this sanatorium is a place which is really quiet, and you can see how this place is quite literally so different from the one he is living in. Now, he plans and visits her sanatorium. The sanatorium is a place where both patients and doctors live together to learn new things or skills, or they heal each other basically. The students and the patients teach the doctors something, and on the other hand, the doctor kind of treats them mentally. Now, when he goes there, Nayoko finally apologizes for her fragile mental state, and then they spend a quiet time together and they get pretty close. But Nayoko asks him if he could, wait for her to get into a healthy mental state before actually starting something. And Toru says yes. And then we also get a few glimpses of Riko and her backstory, who is basically Nayoko's roommate who loves music. And she is basically an older woman with her own psychological struggles. And Toru gets to know that she struggled with music and also with the fact that she might be a lesbian, and the way she was accused of it by a small girl who she used to tutor. And then after 2 days, he comes back to his dorm in his usual life and finds it a little louder than usual. He somehow starts to question the meaning of this loud life or city life. So that sums up chapter 6, and now we'll read more and update you guys later. I've officially finished reading this book, so let's talk about it. So basically, in chapter number 7, Midori takes Toru to visit her father in the hospital, who just had brain tumor surgery. And he talks to him, he takes care of him. But just a week after that, he dies, and Midori stops talking for a while. They stop hanging out for a while. In the meantime, Toru's friend Nagasawa's girlfriend, I think her name was Hatsumi, she breaks up with him in front of Toru because she realizes that Nagasawa was never serious with her. So after that, Hatsumi takes Toru to enlighten his mood, and they play a game which Toru never played after the death of Kisuke. And then Midori comes back to her own self and they hang out for a while. And I would say that I kind of like Midori's humor sense. But at the same time, Naoko's situation worsened, and at that time, Toru started also feeling grief. She just couldn't write letters anymore. She wouldn't move from place to place. And when he says, I were writing letters to hold together the pieces of my crumbling life, it did something to my heart. But I've noticed this, when the heck ever Toru would probably want to talk about his life and the depression with Midori, she would just ignore it. And it makes me think that maybe she avoids such situations intentionally because she doesn't want to get through the same mental breakdown again. And then Midori breaks up with his boyfriend after realizing that she probably likes Toru more and proposes to him. But he kind of says that he needs time to fix things up with Naoko, with his life, and like every feelings that is kind of attached to him or his life. And then in chapter number 11, Naoko's situation gradually improves, but suddenly she attempts suicide, and nobody knows why. And a phrase which stuck with me while I was reading it, it's in page number 323. I'll just read it out aloud. I had learned one thing from Kisuke's death, and I believed that I had made it a part of myself in that form of a philosophy. Death exists not as the opposite, but as a part of life. But living our lives, we nurture death. True as this might be, it was only one of the truths we had to learn. What I had learned from Naoko's death was no truth can cure the sadness we feel from losing a loved one. No truth, no sincerity, no strength, no kindness can cure that sorrow. All we can do is see that sadness through to the end and learn something from it. But what we learned will be of no help in facing the next sadness that comes to us without warning. And then Reiko leaves the sanatorium because of Toru and Naoko because she couldn't bear living there anymore. And the most shocking thing that happened in chapter number 11, which I just couldn't comprehend, was that Reiko having sex with Toru. Like, they are generations apart. Like, how did this happen? I'm so confused. And then the open ending got me. I'm so confused. Did Toru attempt suicide as well? But if we look at chapter number 1, it was written that Toru was visiting Germany. So there's no way that he would have attempted suicide. Let me look it up. Okay. So it says Toru Watanabe does not commit suicide. While the ending is open to interpretation, the text suggests that he chooses to live on. Despite the lingering sadness and the haunting presence of loss, the final scene where he calls out to Midori after seeing countless shapes of people walking by to nowhere is often interpreted as a moment of existential reflection rather than a prelude to suicide. And then another article says that the novel explores the theme of death and grief, but it does not explicitly state that Toru succumbs to it. Instead, he grapples with the ever present shadow of loss and the difficulty of moving on. Okay, so let's move on to my thoughts and criticisms. I feel like this book is heavily represented around grief, and I really liked reading about such thoughts that, like, it made me question grief in life and death itself. So, in a way, I liked the plot and the premise of the book. But I honestly did not like the way few of the characters in this book has been sexualized. Like the way they were sexualized and the way that everybody kind of liked Toru. There was no one, absolutely no one, who kind of disliked Toru and his way of living, or maybe he had some flaws. Nobody pointed that out. Everybody said that Toru is understanding. He understands people. He's caring. He's blah blah blah. God knows what. And I feel like everybody kind of seemed to be having situationship with their partners, which is honestly, I cannot see that happening in real life. Characters in this book were really confused about their partners in life, and I don't think it is ideal in real life, but I can see how Murakami kind of tried to provide emphasis on the fact that when you deal with grief, you kind of tend to get confused about what do you want from life or death for that matter. Okay, one thing I would like to make sure before I actually rate this book is the fact that I never ever heard or listened to the song Norwegian Wood. So I probably do not know the significance of this song as much as probably other readers who had listened to the song would do. Honestly, I do not think I have any intention of listening to this song. In saying that, I rate this book 4 stars. I liked it. I liked many aspects of this book, the way every aspect has been explained, and how real it felt while reading it. But I cannot look away the factor of that sexual tension and how few of the discussions were made, which is honestly, like, I couldn't connect to it. I couldn't understand why Murakami chose to write it, and like, what is the necessity of including that? That alone for me took a star from that 5-star mark. So that concludes my reading vlog of Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed watching this vlog as much as I did while filming it. If you did, then do not forget to let me know down in the comments below, and also let me know if you have had any other thoughts which I probably missed in this video, or thoughts which didn't come to my mind while reading it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and as always, I'll see you in your beautiful face next time. Bye!
Got me upside down, spinning around you.